Good morning, everybody. It is Monday all day. Let's hope it's not Monday all week. What is today besides Monday? Is today the 21st? Yeah, I believe it is. Crazy weather we have going on. Crazy weather. That happened in Buffalo, New York is biblical proportions of snow. I don't like to wear socks. I certainly would not want snow taller than my whole damn body. It's crazy. Mondays are always crazy. I almost thought I was going to have to put the show off about 30 minutes, but here, let's see who else is here. Deb made it in. Hello, Shep. Mama Kay, Nisa, Magenta. On Halloween, you won a prize. Remember when I kept getting kicked off the stream? So you need to send me an email so I can get you your Halloween prize. Lala. Hello, Lala. Joy Jones. Miss Brew made it in. Hello, Gannon. Hello, Elaine. Lauren's here. Lauren, I did get your email. I have not looked at it yet, though. JTB made it. JTB almost didn't make it last night. How about those Chiefs? That game's crazy. And I just caught the highlights this morning. I have figured out a trick. If I'm not paying attention or if I fall asleep during a game, my teams do okay. Bedlam, OU won. Chiefs last night, my lazy ass fell asleep. They won. What do you know? Hello, Kelly Miller. Eddie's in the house. What's up, Eddie? Hello, Kaleidoscope. Lot going on, man. Like I said, it is a true crime typhoon. The minute I think the criminals are behaving, they pull something out. Of course, we have the case in Idaho, 2 cases. So for those of you that came in to basically listen to the authorities in Moscow, Idaho last night, read the same article that I posted in the Facebook group yesterday. Thank you. It was a lot of fun. Love hanging out with you guys. So you got that treat yesterday. I do have another show pretty much already done for the students in Idaho. I said it was going to be today, but between being a Monday and it being Thanksgiving week, I just don't know what our schedule is going to be, but we are definitely going to be together. We are. I have a show ready for little Quentin. They're still searching for Quentin, but from what I'm understanding, they're taking a much needed break for the Thanksgiving holiday. They're also still searching for little Michael Vaughn. So as we get updates, we will hang together. That's the way we do it. And the update I wasn't expecting was that stepmeth, Kayla Montgomery, I just can't, Kayla's a beautiful name. People think, oh, she thinks she's cute making up all these nicknames. There's nothing funny about this. Well, I wouldn't want to have the name Kayla and be compared to her. Kayla's a beautiful name. I don't want to insult anyone named Kayla. So I call her what she is, stepmeth. So anyway, stepmeth, we've been covering the case of Harmony Montgomery, I'd say since January 2022, 11 months, I guess. And very early on, we said, the stepmother's got to know something. She's got to know. She's got to know something. How could she not? She's with Teardrop. She has other children with him. We already know that Harmony was failed by her mother, Crystal. Crystal was not concerned about whether she had seen Harmony, spoke with Harmony, FaceTimed Harmony. Her claim to fame is that she dangled some little Easter basket in front of her on a FaceTime and said, "When I see you, Harmony, I'm going to give this to you next time." That was Easter of 2019. She did send an email to the mayor, supposedly, in Manchester, New Hampshire, in December of 2021. Who the hell reaches out to the mayor to tell him that you haven't seen your own child in all that time? Grandparents were not checking on Harmony. Aunts and uncles. I'll give you a pass on the aunts and uncles. Not everyone gets along with their siblings. Grandparents, no excuse. They should have at least had some inkling that she was around. Of course, the big POS, besides the judge in Massachusetts that made an obvious mistake, is Teardrop. He's been charged with murder. And we did the show a couple weeks ago. Very hard to get through when they announced murder charges for Teardrop. And we said, well, who talked? Who talked? Somebody had to have talked. Well, it's Kayla. Stepmother did. So really, the only way to get through the insanity that's going on, of course, is to go back to the beginning, just a small clip. But just to speed you up, if you are not up on this case, in 2019, Harmony disappeared, but nobody told anyone. Nobody was aware of this until 2021, around the holidays last year. All right, so since then, stepmother, Kayla Montgomery, was collecting welfare benefits, even though she knew damn good and well. And we know for a fact she knew damn good and well now. She knew Harmony was not alive, not around. I don't mean living somewhere else. She knew Harmony wasn't alive. You talk about insult to injury. She was collecting welfare, knowing that Teardrop murdered her. Okay, so she did that, but she also perjured herself to a grand jury. Of all things, she lied about a work schedule, I believe, at a donut shop from November of 2019. But since her ass is tightly wound in the wringer, she decided to cooperate with the prosecutors. Well, now last spring, we sensed something was up because her attorney, that's afforded to her by the state of New Hampshire. I'm sorry, taxpayers of New Hampshire. You got to eat this one. He had mentioned a plea deal. He wanted to look over the plea deal. We're like, what plea deal? What? What's the plea deal for? Is it for the welfare? She can't serve the rest of her life for it, so what's up? Well, in exchange, prosecutors dropped the charges that stepmother lied to the state about having Harmony in her care in order to get the benefits. So she's going to get a pretty hefty credit for time already served. And from what I'm understanding, she's going to serve basically 1.5 years, but that's going to be for perjury about the damn donut shop. I don't think 1.5 years is good enough. It's good enough for perjury. I don't care about her perjury. I don't care about the donut shop. I wonder why there are not any charges for her not reporting a death. As you know, in Idaho, and every state is different. Every state is different. So I'm probably confusing the situation. Well, I'm talking out my ass. Forgive me. In Idaho, Sarah Wondra was very well aware that Michael Vaughn is deceased. Sarah Wondra did not report him to the authorities, did not report that he was gone. That's a hefty ass charge. I would have no problem with the powers that be in New Hampshire, who, by the way, have not played. They have not played at all. That could be coming. That could be coming down the road. This is just the plea deal to get her to talk. This is just the plea deal to get her to talk. I have faith, guys. Call me silly. Call me silly. After all this time, I'm just an old softy, an old romantic when it comes to our criminals. You never know. You never know. Barb, welcome back. Barb renewed her membership. Glad to have you back. Hang on. Betty said something. Betty said she was responsible as well. She was responsible as well. Not only responsible, she gave the very graphic details to prosecutors about him repeatedly with a closed fist, using that closed fist against little Harmony's head and ending her life. Big question. Big question. Where's Harmony? Where's Harmony? Harmony is still missing. Yes, Harmony is the center of a murder investigation. Her father's been charged. He'll never see the light of day. He'll never see the light of day. He's going to be in jail for the rest of his life. Stepmother, 1.5 years until they get her on something else. Where's Harmony? Where is Harmony? She knows all this other stuff. Is she holding that back in case they do come back and say, but you you failed to report her death. So I pinky promised that we weren't going to stack anything else up on top of you regarding Harmony. But this would be a totally different charge. This has nothing to do with your perjury. This has nothing to do with your welfare fraud. I don't know. Maybe she's hanging on to that information so that further down the road, she has yet another ace in the deck. This woman is pure vile. This woman is pure evil. Another reason that I absolutely adore you guys, because let's face it, we never gather for good news now, do we? Even when there's a break in a case and we're like, thank God, it's still bad news. It's still bad news. So while there will be eventually some justice for Harmony, Kayla got something out of it. Pisses me off to no end. I'm going to rewind to the beginning, and then we're going to start talking about her plea deal. I'm going to put the link up in a second. If anybody wants to come up and bitch about step meth and teardrop with me, I haven't even gotten to Crystal yet. Come on up.
What happened to Harmony? Little Harmony Montgomery was last seen 2 years ago, but she was only reported missing for the first time just 2 weeks ago. In a dramatic development, police arrested her father, 31-year-old Adam Montgomery, for assaulting her. An arrest document says he once boasted, "I bashed her around this house," and gave her a black eye. Nancy Grace, host of Crime Stories on Fox Nation, is expressing outrage.
What? Nobody noticed she didn't come back to school? Even during pandemic, even on Zoom, you account for all the children. The school system never raised a red flag that she didn't show back up the next year. It's been 2 Years.
Harmony comes from a troubled family. She was in foster care, but returned to her father in 2019, the year she was last seen. She has a 5-year-old brother, Jameson, who was put up for adoption and was lucky enough to be adopted by this man, TV reporter Blair Miller.
Does he miss Harmony?
We can think of examples where he's been at a park and he'll ask for his sister or see someone who reminds him of his sister. And that's heartbreaking. It really is.
Do you love her?
Yep.
You do?
Yes.
This is heartbreaking video of little Jameson singing happy birthday to his sister, who he hasn't seen for 2 years.
Happy birthday to my sister. Happy birthday to you.
The blonde, blue-eyed tyke would now be 7 years old. Manchester, New Hampshire police are desperate for help finding her.
I'm imploring, I'm asking, even I'll go as far as I'm begging the community.
But the man who may know her fate isn't talking.
Somebody knows something. We just need that person to come forward.
Yeah, somebody knows something, and we just need him to come forward. That somebody the whole time was stepmeth. Now, if you've been following the case, you also know that Adam Montgomery, Teardrop, him and stepmeth, they did split the sheets. Trouble in paradise. He got his stuff and moved into another car. Literally moved into another car. He also had another girlfriend named Kelsey. Well, in his trail of destruction, because anything he touches, this man could mess up a wet dream. This man could mess up a crowbar. He's awful. When he got arrested out of the car, he got woke up. It was a bad hair day for him. Bad hair day for him. He had cigarette burns in his Coors t-shirt. And they wake him up out of the car, ask where Harmony is. He plays tough guy. Oh, I'm not talking to you guys. You're just playing word games. You know, doesn't matter. He's in jail for murder. Kelsey, they get her some help. She goes to a rehab. Then she's in a sober living facility and leaves the sober living facility and is found at a motel deceased. From what I'm understanding, it's from an overdose. I always thought that maybe Kelsey, not that she had anything to do with Harmony at all, but that at some point she may remember him saying something about a strange place that he visited, somebody that he used to hang out with, just some little tidbit that would help the investigators. But Teardrop, doing what Teardrop does, everybody he comes across suffers. Please don't forget, he's also a suspect in a murder from 2008 in Lynn, Massachusetts. He is a terrible, terrible person. So Kayla, for the welfare fraud, did get out of jail back in the spring, early summer. She was asked to do some reasonable things. One was stay off drugs. The nerve, right? Stay off drugs. You're supposed to come in, I think, once a week. She was supposed to go to the Manchester Police Department for a drug test. She was actually supposed to be there in person every day. For what? I don't know. Just to say hi, make sure she's still there. Well, she decided to not comply. She decided that even though she had been telling them things, and big things for sure, because they, with the help of the U.S. Marshals and the FBI, tore the hell out of an apartment that they used to live on Union Street in Manchester. They took out the refrigerator. They took, pieces of sheetrock out. And they came out and said, They did not find Harmony, but they found things in there. They said biological evidence that changed their investigation from missing to homicide. See, so she was cooperating before. Then she goes off the deep end. Of course, there are people out there that say because she couldn't handle the guilt. She just couldn't handle the guilt. I don't think that's it. I think she's just a hot mess. I think she just wanted to go back and do the drugs. So she goes off, she's doing the drugs. She doesn't show up to court. Manchester police, they have no time for Kayla. They call in the U.S. Marshals. They find her holed up with some other guy. Imagine stepmeth finding someone just like her that quick. Is that not crazy? How many billions of people are on this planet, and the pieces of shit always find each other? It's like a Nicholas Sparks movie, only in reverse. It's crazy. All right, so they go to the house, and they pull her ass out of there. Let's look at that clip. It's one of my favorite clips. It actually puts me in a good mood sometimes. That's not the one.
That's right, John. It's important to note here that Kayla Montgomery was out on bail on welfare fraud charges connected to applying for state benefits back in 2019 for her stepdaughter, Harmony Montgomery, when the child was no longer in her care. Part of those bail arrangements are that she appear in court when there's a hearing. She failed to do that last week. That prompted this new arrest warrant to be issued. The execution of that warrant very much came as a surprise to at least one other person in that house.
Well, I had military machine rifles put to my head and told to face the ground.
Quite the start to the day for Dave St. Onge on Friday. He was stepping out of this house on Russell Street to go to the corner store.
They had U.S. Marshals, they had state police, Manchester PD.
Did they put a gun to your head?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, they did. Listen to that guy. He goes out just to go get a pack of smokes. Stepmeth is up there with his brother, I think it is. U.S. Marshals throw his ass to the ground. Put a gun to his head. All because she knew she was supposed to do a drug test. She knew she was supposed to show up to court. She knew how important her cooperation is for Harmony Montgomery. She failed her when she was alive. She didn't protect her. From my gathering, everything that's come out, she was sitting right there when Harmony was being punched over and over and over in the head. I'm glad that they got the marshals involved. I'm very glad. I say start using them more. People have a problem with their local PD. You think they're unfair to you? Get the marshals. This dude was just going to get some cigarettes. Because he's got that POS in his house. Look what happened to him.
To the day for Dave St. Onge on Friday. He was stepping out of this house on Russell Street to go to the corner store.
They had U.S. Marshals, they had state police, Manchester PD.
Did they put a gun to your head?
Yeah. And not too much, but for me to where that camera guy is.
St. Onge says he knew a woman was visiting his brother for a few days, but didn't know who she was after the house was searched and Kayla was arrested.
Oh, God, look at her coming out. Look at those big sunglasses she probably stole from the convenience store. With her arms up. You loser. Oh, my. Are you guys seeing this? Take a screenshot. That's a loser. Okay, guys? That is a loser. All right? God. God help me. You freak.
They filled him in.
They kicked the door in on the other when they had me handcuffed over here, they came in and got through got through the top door and broke the door in where she was in.
St. Hodge says they hauled his brother away in handcuffs as well on Friday, telling him something about harboring a fugitive.
Look at her eyes all swollen and everything. I bet she tripped a few times getting in that car. Good God. So like I said, they get the marshals. They go and get her. Kick in the door. Some people are worried about if this guy's house is going to get repaired. I'm sure the federal government had to buy him a new door. Probably had one sent over from Lowe's or whatever. Don't worry about him. But his brother, see, this is what happens. These people get tangled up with each other. You need to ask who the chick is stealing sunglasses at the convenience store. She might be in trouble. So she comes back to the house and she's flopping around, basically hiding from the police. And the brother gets in trouble too for harboring a fugitive. These are not small charges. These are not like just dumb things people do. They pay a fine and they have a story to tell later. These are not small charges.
I think she's, she deserves everything coming to her.
Away in handcuffs as well on Friday, telling him something about harboring a fugitive.
I think she's, she deserves everything coming to her.
And a new bail hearing is scheduled for Kayla Montgomery here at Superior Court tomorrow, 9 a.m. We're live in Manchester this noon. Amy Cavino, WMUR News 9.
Disgusting. All right, so they swoop her up after they scare that man within an inch of his life. Arrest whoever she's flopping with. I guess they just thought they had a weekend visitor. I don't know how the hell that all went down. And he gets in trouble for harboring a fugitive. Again, this isn't just something stupid someone did one time. We're not talking about, I didn't check my account and wrote a check. We're not talking about stuff like that. We're not talking about, I took too wide of a right turn, if you know what I mean. Harboring a fugitive. And here's the thing. This guy can play all day. He didn't know she was in trouble. I don't know who in Manchester, New Hampshire didn't know she was in trouble. Or that she wasn't somehow involved with the case of Harmony Montgomery. I guess that dumbass didn't know. But anyway, he knows now. He knows now because he's got a major charge on him for harboring a fugitive. So we speed up to where we're at now. Even with all of that, they still are, they give her a plea deal. The plea deal sits a little easier on my tummy, knowing that the plea deal is for welfare fraud because she sat in jail for that 4 or 5 months. And that it's a 1.5 years for perjury about lying about the damn donut shop. I have faith, guys. Like I said, I have faith that down the road, once she gets settled in with her new digs and they give her, the other people in the jail give her a warm welcome like they did Gabriel Fernandez's mom. That went over well for Pearl, didn't it? After she gets settled in with her new friends and she's walking around on the concrete floors and enjoying the constipation, that they will put charges on her for not reporting that she witnessed a murder and did not report it. I have faith, guys. I have faith. All right, so let's get to this idiot. Let's get to her plea deal.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Montgomery. Please state your name for the record.
Kayla Montgomery.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Montgomery, it's my understanding it's your intention today to plead guilty to 2 felony counts of perjury. Is that correct?
Yes.
We're going to start by having the state review for the court and for you the sentences that are being recommended to the court today. These are the sentences that will be imposed, so please listen carefully and make sure this is your understanding as well. You can be seated and I'll turn to the state. And I should just say, Attorney O'Neill, the sentencing addendum doesn't have any charge IDs on it. I am going to have the clerk's office put both charge IDs on it. As I understand it, it applies to both sentences. That's the party's understanding?
It does.
It is, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
So, beginning with the state prison sentence sheet for charge ID 1982119C, the proposed sentence is that on this charge ID, the defendant be sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 7 years nor less than 3.5 years. There is added to the minimum sentence a disciplinary period equal to 150 days for each year of the minimum term of the defendant's sentence to be prorated for any part of the year. There is 197 days pretrial confinement credit. This sentence is to be served as follows: stand committed commencing today. 1 1/2 years of the minimum sentence and none of the maximum sentence is suspended. Suspensions are conditioned upon good behavior and compliance with all of the terms of this order. Any suspended sentence may be imposed after your hearing at the request of the state. The suspended sentence begins today. Excuse me. The suspended sentence begins today and ends 10 years from her release on this charge. The court recommends to the Department of Corrections that they screen and or assess the defendant for drug and alcohol treatment needs. The defendant is to participate meaningfully in and complete any counseling, treatment, and educational programs as directed by the correctional authority or probation parole officer. Subject to the provisions of RSA 651-A, Section 22-A, the Department of Corrections shall have the authority to award the defendant earned time reductions against the minimum and maximum sentences for successful completion of programming while incarcerated. Law enforcement agencies may destroy the evidence or return the evidence to its rightful owner. The defendant is ordered to be of good behavior and comply with all the terms of this sentence. And then there's an additional 5-page sentencing addendum / memorandum of.
Good behavior might be a problem. Good behavior might be a problem. She couldn't even comply to give them a squirt of piss to prove that she wasn't on drugs and show up to court. Good behavior. Thank you, Nubian Max. You guys, your support means so much to me. You have no idea. You have no idea. Stepmeth doesn't have my support, though. She is nothing. She is scum. She is human scum. Okay, so good behavior, we have that going for us, too. When she was in jail, she was told to have no communication, whether it be via third party or directly with Teardrop. She was talking to Teardrop's dad and asked him to get a message to Teardrop for her. So right there, we have that going for us because we know she can't be on good behavior. We know she can't. She can't do that. That is not in her wheelhouse. She didn't even call 911 after she witnessed a murder. And yes, she witnessed it. I don't believe for a minute she didn't. She has too many details. She has too many details.
Agreement, which has been signed by both the defendant and the state, incorporated by reference and included as part of this sentencing order as fully stated herein. Without reading the 5 pages of that agreement, and perhaps most significant to this particular charge ID is that the state is in agreement on this charge ID that the state will take no position on a motion to suspend the balance of the maximum sentence after 3 years release, as long as none of the suspended time has been imposed either on this charge or the other charge, 1982120C. There is no pending request to impose any of the suspended time on this charge or 1982120C, and the defendant has been of good behavior and in compliance with all terms and conditions of her sentence, including those made part of the sentence through the sentencing addendum. On charge ID number 1982120C, The proposed sentence is that the defendant be sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 7 years nor less than 3.5 years. On that charge, there would be no pretrial confinement credit. All of that sentence, all of the minimum and all of the maximum sentence is suspended, conditioned upon good behavior and compliance with all terms of the order. Any suspended sentence may be imposed after a hearing at the request of the state. The suspended sentence begins today and ends 10 years from her release on the other charge, 198-2119C. This sentence on 198-2120C is to run consecutive to any sentence on 198-2119C. It also includes the same conditions, the recommendation that DOC screen or assess the defendant for drug and alcohol treatment needs, that she participate in the counseling, treatment, and educational programs, the box for the earned time reductions, and that she be ordered to be of good behavior and comply with all the terms of this sentence, including the same 5-page sentencing addendum / memorandum of agreement, which is also incorporated by reference and included as part of this sentence as it fully stated therein.
Ms. Montgomery, are the terms of the sentences that were just reviewed for you by the state, are those the terms of the sentence that you understand will be imposed today if the court accepts them?
Yes.
And the state did not read in its entirety all of the 5-page memorandum of agreement between you and the state of New Hampshire. Did you review that carefully with your counsel?
Yes.
And did you read that yourself, or did he read that to you?
I read it myself.
Okay. And Ms. Montgomery, how old are you?
I'm 32 years old.
Did you read it yourself, Miss Montgomery, or did he read it to you? I read it myself. Oh, really? You can interpret the law now, stepmouth? Really? You didn't have to have your lawyer explain any of that to you? I have a feeling he went over it with a fine-tooth comb for you. 32 years old she is. I'm 47. My ass would make a Sunday face for her. Look at the damage this woman has done to herself. She does not in any way, shape, or form look 32 years old.
How far did you go in school?
I got my GED.
Okay. So you reviewed that addendum in its entirety and you discussed it with Attorney Garrity, is that correct?
Yes.
So you understand everything that's in that addendum?
Yes.
And all of what your obligations are within that addendum, and all of the consequences should you not comply. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you have any question about that?
No.
Okay. What we're going to do now is the state's going to tell me the facts that the state would rely on if these matters were to go to trial. Please listen carefully, because I'm going to ask you if you have any disagreement with those facts. And I do that in part so that I know you're acknowledging your guilt on those specific charges. So please listen carefully to the state. Attorney O'Neill?
Had this case proceeded to trial, the state would have introduced evidence to prove the following beyond a reasonable doubt. On December 28th of 2021, the Manchester Police Department began an investigation into the disappearance of Harmony Montgomery, who would have been 7 years old at that time. The police soon learned that the last credible reports of anyone seeing Harmony were from November of 2019, when Harmony was 5 years old. The police learned that in November of 2019, Harmony was living with her father, Adam Montgomery, the defendant, who was Adam's wife, but who is not biologically related to Harmony, and 2 common children of Adam and the defendant. Fast forwarding back to December of 2021, during a voluntary interview with Manchester police detectives, the defendant told detectives that she had last seen Harmony 2 days after Thanksgiving in 2019, which would have been November 30th of 2019. In that interview, the defendant said on that date, Adam dropped her, the defendant, off for a 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift at the Dunkin' Donuts on on Eddy Road in Manchester. She said when Adam dropped her off, he told her he was bringing Harmony to Harmony's mother, and the defendant told police at that time that she didn't see Harmony again after that. That was in December of 2021. In May of 2022, Harmony had still not been located, and investigators still had no definite information about her whereabouts, or at that time whether she was even dead or alive. So that month.
Okay, I got to rewind that. I have to hear that again, because she's saying, which correlates, we may have to hear that, with what she told her mother. I don't believe it, though. I just don't believe it. She has too much detail, hence the perjury. That he said that he had taken Harmony to her worthless mother, Crystal. I got to rewind that. Hang on.
During a voluntary interview with Manchester police detectives, the defendant told detectives that she had last seen Harmony 2 days after Thanksgiving in 2019, which would have been November 30th of 2019. In that interview, the defendant said on that date, Adam dropped her, the defendant, off for a 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift at the Dunkin' Donuts on on Eddy Road in Manchester. She said when Adam dropped her off, he told her he was bringing Harmony to Harmony's mother, and the defendant told police at that time that she didn't see Harmony again after that. That was in December of 2021. In May of 2022, Harmony had still not been located, and investigators still had no definite information about her whereabouts or at that time whether she was even dead or alive. So that month, May of 2022, to further the investigation, the defendant was subpoenaed to appear before the grand jury for Hillsborough County Northern District. The grand jury was investigating possible charges related to Harmony's disappearance. The defendant was subpoenaed to testify about the last time she saw Harmony and anything else relevant she knew about Harmony's disappearance. The defendant's date to testify before the grand jury was May 20th of 2022. She was accompanied on that date by her attorney, Attorney Garrity, who waited outside of the grand jury room during the defendant's testimony per grand jury regulations. However, the defendant was advised at the beginning of her testimony that she could request a break at any point to consult with Attorney Garrity. The defendant was questioned during her grand jury testimony by Associate Attorney General Jeffrey Strelzin. Prior to any questioning, the defendant was sworn by AAG Strelzin pursuant to RSA Chapter 600, Section 4. Prior to any substantive questioning, Attorney Strelzin informed the defendant that she had the right to refuse to answer any question if it would incriminate her, that any answer she gave to the grand jury could be used against her in court, and that if she lied to the grand jury, she could be charged with perjury, which he told her was a Class B felony punishable by up to 3.5 to 7 years in prison and a $4,000 fine. The defendant indicated that she understood these things and that she had no questions. During the defendant's grand jury testimony, Attorney Strelzin asked her about the last time she saw Harmony. While under oath, the defendant testified initially that a day or two after Thanksgiving of 2019, Adam dropped her, the defendant, off at work, and Harmony and the other 2 children were in the car. The defendant testified that at that time, Adam said he was bringing Harmony to Harmony's mother. The defendant testified that this happened during the morning because she worked 6 to 2, and she said she was working at Dunkin' Donuts. Attorney Strelzin then advised the defendant that the police had checked with Dunkin' Donuts and had records that she wasn't working at Dunkin' Donuts at the time. Attorney Strelzin then again warned the defendant that whatever she said could be used against her, and he told her to really think about that day and where she was because she had to tell the truth. Subsequent to that warning, the defendant testified that 2 days after Thanksgiving 2019, before 6 in the morning, Adam dropped her off where she was working at Dunkin' Donuts in Goffstown. The defendant testified that Adam picked her up from work later that day, which she said was a little after 2 p.m., and that it was only the other 2 children and Adam in the car, and that Harmony was not in the car. The defendant testified that at that time she asked Adam if he had brought Harmony to Harmony's mom, and he said that he had. At no point during her grand jury testimony did the defendant retract or change her testimony that the last time she saw Harmony was 2 days after Thanksgiving of 2019, when Adam dropped the defendant off for her 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift at Dunkin' Donuts in Goffstown. After the defendant's grand jury testimony, Manchester detectives investigated her claim that she was working at Dunkin' Donuts in Goffstown on November 30th of 2019 from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Detectives learned that there were 3 Dunkin' Donuts locations in Goffstown, 2 on Mast Road and 1 on Tower Lane. Ownership of the 2 Mast Road locations informed detectives that the defendant never worked at either of those locations. Ownership of the Tower Lane location informed detectives that the defendant had worked there from August 4th of 2019 to September 11th of 2019, but did not work there after September 11th of 2019.
Are you serious? So she says Teardrop drops her off for work for her 6 to 2 shift. Now, I kind of caught some hell about this when I was talking about her perjury, and people were like, well, in all fairness, I can't remember what I did 2 years ago. And that's fine. That's fine. We go back and forth. That's fine. So I kind of let it go. She hadn't worked there since September. September of 2019. So she orchestrates this lie, which I'm sure he was in on too. Or maybe somebody else. Somebody helped her come up with this. She's not that smart. And she stuck with it. They even told her, they even gave her an out to tell the truth. So here we go, wasting law enforcement's time again. They have to go on these errands to prove all the time what they already know. You and I both know it. You and I both know it. They knew her ass didn't have a job. They knew she wasn't at work. She'd put it on her damn Facebook. They already knew. But here we go again. We have to send the police to investigate something that they already know. So they find out the 3 Dunkin' Donuts locations. 2 of them she never worked at, and 1 she hadn't worked at in 2 months. Well, something important went on that day, or she wouldn't have been lying about it so much. And we know what it was.
Detectives also obtained the defendant's employment records from New Hampshire Employment Security. Those records showed that the only employer who paid the defendant in the 4th quarter of 2019, which would have been October, November, and December of 2019, was the owner of the Dunkin' Donuts located at 6 Bell Avenue in Hooksett. When contacted, ownership of the Bell Avenue Dunkin' Donuts informed detectives that the defendant had worked there, but only until November 23rd of 2019. Detectives also received a copy of paperwork signed by the defendant herself, which confirmed that November 23rd of 2019 was her last date at that location.
Okay, I stand corrected. I give her a little bit more credit. She did hold on to the Dunkin' Donuts job until November 23rd. She still lied about the 30th, and she knows memory is very important because the memory, they're not asking about, this was not a survey about what it's like to work at Dunkin' Donuts. This is about finding Harmony Montgomery. She made up this story. And she stuck with it, all to keep the authorities away from finding out the truth about Harmony Montgomery. All of that. She witnessed the murder and didn't say anything. Doubled down and lied.
In sum, the evidence the state would introduce at trial would show that the defendant was not working at any Dunkin' Donuts location for any shift, neither in Goffstown or anywhere else on November 30th of 2019, which means the defendant's testimony under oath before the grand jury for Hillsborough County Northern District on May 20th of 2022 about where she was working and the shift she was working was false.
Ms. Montgomery, do you have any disagreement with the facts as just stated by the prosecutor?
No.
You went over the acknowledgement and waiver of rights form for a felony with Attorney Garrity, is that correct?
Yes.
And again, I ask you, did you read them yourself or did he read them to you or both?
Both.
So do you understand that you're giving up certain constitutional rights you have by deciding to plead guilty today?
Yes.
You understand you'd have the right to a speedy and public jury trial of this matter?
Yes.
Did Attorney Garrity tell you how many people would sit on a jury if you went to a jury trial?
Yes.
How many?
15.
Well, that's close.
12.
You would have 12 people who would deliberate to
Yeah.
determine guilt or innocence. We often would add 2 or 3 additional jurors who would serve as alternates. Of the 12 jurors,
Idiot. she knows her way around the courtroom. She knows a jury is 12 people. She's trying to be cute. She's trying to be cute. She knows better than that. So they're saying, you're going to be giving away some of your constitutional rights. She's telling her this could go to trial. Here's my question. I don't know the answer. Won't know the answer for a very long time. Slim and I are thinking the same way. How, without the body of Harmony Montgomery, is a jury going to believe the star witness when the star witness is sitting in jail for a year and a half for perjury? It's going to be, well, maybe Kayla did it. Maybe it's stepmeth. They obviously know way, 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 way more than me. And I think they have some method to their madness. But that is interesting. Very interesting. If you were sitting on that jury, would you have any problem convicting Teardrop, knowing that she's in jail for a year and a half for perjury? I think I would sleep well at night putting Teardrop away for the rest of his life. That's just me. The biological evidence tells me that he damn sure had something to do with it. I would have no problem with it. But I'm asking you guys, would you have a problem putting Teardrop away for the rest of his life, knowing that the star witness is in jail for perjury? It only takes one. It only takes one. 12 sit there with a couple of alternates that have to listen in. Let's hope. Let's hope. I do have faith in this. I do.
Deliberating jurors, do you know how many of those jurors would have to say you're guilty or for a finding of guilty to be entered against you? No. If you're uncertain of that, you can speak with Attorney Garrity. Judge.
All 12.
That's correct. And Ms. Montgomery, I ask you these questions because it's important that I know that you understand the rights.
Dear God, she's an idiot. Dear God, she's an idiot. All right, so the judge is basically saying, you do understand basically what I just said, and I'm not a judge. Hey, judge, come hang with me. I just said the same thing. It only takes one. You only have to convince one that maybe Teardrop didn't do it. Now, they're not talking about down the road with Teardrop. She's talking about her, stepmeth. You know that if you go in front of a jury and you tell them your Dunkin' Donuts story, one of them might believe you. Not so much the Dunkin' Donuts story. One of them might believe that you didn't perjure yourself. So then he's whispering to her, all 12, all 12. Listen to her. Oh, no. Well, you just said 15, you idiot. The magic number, stepmeth, is 12. It's a wonder he didn't rip that rag off her face, because nobody's worried about her getting COVID, and say, I told you this was the important part, stepmeth. You understanding this is important. I told you 12. Listen to her. Good God, I'd be so mad if I was him.
All 12. That's correct. And Ms. Montgomery, I ask you these questions because it's important that I know that you understand the rights that you're giving up by deciding to plead guilty today. As indicated on that form, you would have the right to a unanimous jury verdict, but you are giving up that right by deciding to plead guilty today. Is that what you want to do?
Yes.
Okay. Do you understand that that also means you're giving up your right to question any of the witnesses in this case that the state would bring in against you?
Yes.
And you're giving up your right to present evidence or call witnesses that could be favorable to you. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You're also giving up your right. If you went to a trial, you'd have the right to testify, but you'd also have the right to remain silent. You could choose to say nothing at all, and the jury would be instructed they can't assume you're guilty because of that. But by deciding to plead guilty today, you are giving up that right to remain silent. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And you're giving up your right to challenge any of the evidence in this case, even if you believe that there was evidence that was taken in violation of your rights. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And if you went forward to trial, it would be the state's obligation to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt before you could be found guilty of these charges. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You are also giving up your right to have Attorney Garrity continue to defend you and present any defenses that you might have at a trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And importantly, you're also giving up your right to appeal. So once we go forward today, if I take your plea and enter a conviction on these charges, you won't have any right to appeal this. Do you understand?
Yes.
And do you want to give up all these rights that we've just discussed and all the other rights on that acknowledgement and waiver of rights form of your own free will?
Yes.
Has anybody threatened, forced, or coerced you to enter a plea today against your will?
No.
Has anybody made any promises to you other than the promise of the recommended sentences that have just been reviewed with you?
No.
And do you feel you've had enough time to discuss this with Attorney Garrity?
Yes.
Did you tell him all the facts about this case so he could advise you?
Yes.
Did he answer all of your questions?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with his services?
Yes.
Attorney Garrity, did you go over each and every element of the offenses charged and any possible defenses that Ms. Montgomery might have with her?
I did, Your Honor.
And did you carefully go over the acknowledgement and waiver of rights form and waiver of sentence review forms in their entirety with her?
Multiple times, Your Honor.
And do you believe that this is a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary waiver on her part?
I believe it is.
Ms. Montgomery, do you have any mental?
Now, he just gave her some credit for being intelligent. Do you believe this is an intelligent? Well, of course it's an intelligent decision. She doesn't want to be in front of a jury of 12 people. The answer is 12. Step math, it's 12. She doesn't want to roll the dice like that. And this judge is giving her the perfect window to jump out of and saying, you can call your own witnesses. That would help. Well, the last friend she had got busted for harboring a fugitive, so we can count him out. Who the hell would vouch for her? Who would vouch for her? Now, I am curious, it said, was anything else promised to you? Now, remember, just because we Google something doesn't mean it applies, if you know what I mean. I'm sure you guys have seen on other channels, hopefully not on this one. People are really big about, well, I looked the law up, it's right here. Well, if the law was a one-size-fits-all, we wouldn't need more than a handful of judges in this country, right? It's like, that's the law, that's it, you broke it, you're done. But it's always up to interpretation. So just because they told her, you're in the clear, we don't have any more use for you, doesn't mean that later they can't say that since she witnessed this, we're going to put charges on her. I have a feeling if that happens, I have faith, I do, it would be after Adam Teardrop goes in front of 12 jurors. The answer is 12. The answer is 12. 12 jurors, and the judge sends him off for the rest of his life. I don't know. Like I said, I have faith. I do know this. She will screw up again. Even if there's no charges for her failure to save Harmony, I do know she'll screw up again. And the next time, they're not going to be this nice.
Mental health or their physical condition that did you tell him all the facts about this case so he could advise you?
Yes.
Did he answer all of your questions?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with his services?
Yes.
Attorney Garrity, did you go over each and every element of the offenses charged and any possible defenses that Ms. Montgomery might have with her?
I did, Your Honor.
And did you carefully go over the acknowledgement and waiver of rights form and waiver of sentence review forms in their entirety with her?
Multiple times, Your Honor.
And do you believe that this is a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary waiver on her part?
I believe it is.
Ms. Montgomery, do you have any mental health or other physical condition that affects your judgment or your thinking in any way?
No.
Have you taken any medication, drugs, or alcohol in the last 24 hours?
No.
Did your
Just-
attorney advise you?
Not to cut you off, Your Honor.
Yes.
She's on MAT at the jail.
Okay. So, Ms. Montgomery, it's my understanding that you take some medications for a substance use disorder. Is that correct?
Yes,
And how long have you been on that medication?
7 years.
Okay. And when was the last time that you took it?
Yesterday at 12:30.
What's she been on for 7 years? The hell has she been on for 7 years? Did I just hear substance abuse disorder? Did I just hear substance abuse disorder? Now, while I do believe addiction is a disease, I do. Obviously, it's not easily cured, if you know what I mean. Slim says probably methadone. I got to hear that again. Is it like Suboxone? Because she has not. Whoa. Let's go back. Just give me a second.
Physical condition that affects your judgment or your thinking in any way?
No,
Have you taken any medication, drugs, or alcohol in the last 24 hours?
no.
Did your attorney advise you?
Not to cut you off, Your Honor.
Yes.
She's on MAT at the jail.
Okay. So, Ms. Montgomery, it's my understanding that you take some medications for a substance use disorder. Is that correct?
Yes,
And how long have you been on that medication?
7 years.
Substance use disorder. That could be a whole show. YouTube would launch me right off the platform if I even touched that. I am not a medical professional. Woo, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Good God. Okay, so we know what it is. It's called abuse. It's called abuse. She abuses drugs. All right? It's not a disorder. She abuses drugs. She's an addict. Now she says, and listen, and I'm not shaming addicts. If you've gotten out of that, God bless you. God bless you. She has not. 7 years. 7 years. And her Dunkin' Donuts paycheck wasn't paying for that. No, Nope. But now, I mean, they're making sure she gets her medication to, I guess, ease her suffering, right? To ease her suffering. I just have her in there itching. I would. I'd have her clawing at her face, pulling her hair out. Nasty.
Okay. And when was the last time that you took it?
Yesterday at 12:30 p.m.
Okay. And it was taken only as prescribed?
Yes.
And do you feel that in any way that affects the clarity of your thinking today?
No.
So you feel that you're thinking clearly and you know what you're doing?
Yes.
Okay. And I asked this of everyone. Did your attorney advise you that if you're not a United States citizen, you can suffer other consequences of this plea up to and including deportation?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Montgomery, you also went over the waiver of sentence review form with Attorney Garrity. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did he explain to you that because you're getting a state prison sentence, you would have the right to have that sentence reviewed by a panel of 3 judges? And they could increase your sentence, decrease it, or keep it the same.
Yes.
But it's my understanding that both you and the state have agreed to waive sentence review as part of this negotiated agreement. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, I will take your plea on these charges.
Okay, Read Deeply is saying that step meth, the state doesn't pay for any of this, that she has to pay. She's in jail. She doesn't have a job. She might get 25 cents a day for laundry. And if she had a copay before, let's get something straight when it comes to her. Read Deeply says the clinic will go on a sliding scale and you make a copay, at least where I'm from. I have a feeling, if you find out different later, Let me have it. Tear me up. I have a feeling that she has not been in this recovery program for 7 years. I don't think that she has been trying to live her best life and get better for 7 years. She wouldn't have been with Teardrop. She wouldn't have been living in a car. She wouldn't have been lying to a grand jury about Dunkin' Donuts on November 30th. She wouldn't have witnessed a murder and not turned it in. She wouldn't have been getting welfare benefits for a murdered little girl. Nah. I got a sliding scale for her, though.
On charge ID 1982119C, charging you with Class B felony of perjury, carrying a maximum penalty of 3.5 to 7 years at the New Hampshire State Prison and a $4,000 fine, which states that Kayla Montgomery did commit the crime of perjury and that Kayla Montgomery, in an official proceeding as defined by RSA 641.12, did make a false material statement under oath or affirmation, and she did not believe the statement to be true, to wit, on or about May 20th, 2022, while testifying under oath before the grand jury for Hillsborough County Northern District. Kayla Montgomery testified falsely regarding a prior work location. How do you plead to that? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
And on charge ID 1982120C, charging you with perjury, carrying a maximum penalty of 3.5 to 7 years at the New Hampshire State Prison and a $4,000 fine, which states that Kayla Montgomery, in an official proceeding as defined by RSA 641.12, did make a false material statement under oath or affirmation, and she did not believe the statement to be true, to wit, on or about May 20th, 2022, while testifying under oath before the grand jury for Hillsborough County Northern District. Kayla Montgomery testified falsely regarding the time of the prior work shift. How do you plead to that? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Court finds there's a factual basis for these charges, and having questioned you, Ms. Montgomery, and your counsel on your offer of your plea of guilty, you and your counsel having informed the court that you've discussed all aspects of these matters and any defenses that you might have, and having observed you today as you've answered my questions, your demeanor, apparent intelligence, and attitude, and observing that you do not appear to be under the influence of any substance today that might affect your judgment, the court finds that this is a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary waiver of your rights, and your guilty pleas are accepted. Is there anything the state would like to add before sentencing?
No, Judge, I'd just like to note that the proposed sentence was carefully negotiated over an extended period of time between the parties, and does provide benefits to each party, and I would ask the court to accept the sentence.
Okay. I guess the only other thing, Attorney O'Neill, I did ask Ms. Montgomery whether there were any other promises made. It's my understanding that the additional outstanding charges that are pending against her in the other cases are being null-prossed as a condition of compliance with the sentencing addendum and the sentences that are being offered today. Is that correct?
That's correct, and that's included in the memorandum of agreement, so it's part of what she said was the sentence that she's agreeing to.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Garrity, anything you would like to add?
Judge, just to echo what the state said, both sides engaged in extensive negotiations. This agreement gives benefits both to the state and to Ms. Montgomery, most importantly, from our perspective. We would ask that you accept the proposed plea agreement.
All right,
and proposed sentence.
All right, thank you. Ms. Montgomery, is there anything you would like to say?
No.
All right. The court is aware from prior proceedings that the parties have worked diligently to come to a negotiated agreement. Ms. Montgomery, it is obviously contingent on a number of commitments on your part as set forth in the sentencing addendum. Based upon all of the information that's been provided to the court will accept the recommended sentences. So with respect to the prison terms on the charge ID ending in 119C, you will have that 3.5 to 7 year state prison sentence with the pretrial confinement of 197 days. That's stand committed, commencing forthwith. 1.5 years of the minimum and none of the maximum are suspended on that sentence. The suspended period is suspended for a period of 10 years from the date of your release. All of the other conditions that were reviewed with you earlier and are within that sentencing memorandum are also imposed. Do you have any question about that?
No.
Okay. on charge ID ending in 120C. On that charge, you also will receive a sentence of not more than 7 years nor less than 3.5 years at the New Hampshire State Prison. All of that sentence, both the minimum and maximum, are suspended. Those suspensions are conditioned upon your good behavior and compliance with all the terms and conditions of the sentencing order. That suspended sentence will begin today and end 10 years after your release on charge ID 119C. If this sentence were to be imposed, it would be consecutive to the sentence in 119C. All of the other conditions that I reviewed with you earlier, as well as the conditions within the 5-page sentencing addendum and memorandum of agreement, are also imposed in connection with that sentence. Do you have any question about that?
No.
All right. So those sentences and all of the conditions are imposed. Attorney Garrity, the court needs to make a determination on attorney's fees. Has her conditions changed since she completed? Maybe she didn't complete. Let me just see.
At one point, while she was out on bail, it had changed to some extent, but obviously now that she's detained, it's back to what it was previously.
Okay, so she does not have any money
That's correct.
in accounts
That's correct.
and does not own any property.
No.
Okay. Under the circumstances, the court will find that you do not have an obligation of your attorney's fees in these cases, taking into consideration those factors, as well as the fact that you will be incarcerated for a period of time going forward. If you have attorney's fees obligations from other cases, you still will have those. All right. You're all set, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
She's all set. Well, it's definitely not ideal. Definitely not perfect. But without holding these charges over her head, there wouldn't be murder charges on Teardrop. Now, also remember, just because she said it doesn't make it true. So whatever she told them, they had to investigate. There's no way that a jury of 12, remember that's the number, Kayla, the jury of 12 would just take her word for it, considering people with common sense would go, well, now hang on. Maybe she did it. So obviously there's way more that's going to come out than just the probable cause, which was bad enough to read. Now, the perjury charge that she's going to serve about 1.5 years for was after Harmony's disappearance, and what she obviously witnessed, because we heard them describe it. It's horrific. So at some point, they could pick up a charge for that. I don't think it's going to be as steep, considering without her testimony and cooperation, they wouldn't have a murder charge on him. I'm really, really curious. I'm going to put the link up if anybody wants to come up. I'm really curious if she has knowledge of where he put Harmony. Do you guys think she knows where Harmony is? She's no Rhodes Scholar. We got that part. But she's street smart. And I'm just wondering if she's keeping that to herself as a bargaining chip down the road. It may not matter. It honestly may not matter. They may, in their own detective work, figure out where Harmony is. They've got time. They've got Teardrop in jail. He's not going anywhere. He's got murder charges on him now. plus the other plethora of things they've got him on. Muffin Top says, where were Harmony's rights and protection? Teardrop took them from him. Teardrop removed all her rights. And Stepmeth sat back and watched. Let's see what Susan has to say. Hello, honey buns.
Hello, Brooks. Hello, everyone.
I know you are wired for sound over this. Hit me.
I just can't stand this witch. She stands up there acting like her shit doesn't stink.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, I'm just so angry. It's a slap in her face. I just want to snatch her bald. I really do. Oh.
Yeah.
Get a breath.
Have you ever seen that movie, Ray? The movie has Jamie Foxx in it about Ray Charles.
I don't think I did.
Well, great movie, by the way. Jamie Foxx, he deserved the Oscar. They're showing when Ray Charles, he went to a center to get off of, I think it was heroin or something like that. Don't quote me. And they didn't have the medications they do now to get them over the withdrawals. And he was, I mean, sick. I mean, just scratching his skin. I mean, in pain. I mean, literal, just pain. Let her feel some pain. Take that Suboxone away from her. She has not been on any road to recovery for 7 years.
No, ma'am. Not unless she's using it plus doing that. Yeah, that place wasn't a methadone clinic where she was found. That was a flop house.
Yeah, where she came out with her hands over her head with the glasses that she stole from the convenience store.
Absolutely. No way in hell that she's going to convince me she's been on, the road to recovery.
No.
God bless people who can, but she was not doing it.
I'm glad you grabbed the link. So, someone has got a dream, something that she wants to do with her life. Speaking of someone who's in recovery, which, by the way, nobody, this channel anyway, is not knocking anybody who is fighting an addiction, in recovery, recovered, if there is such a thing. Some people say there's no such thing. It's a struggle every day. Not at all. I am doubting people that taunt it and say, look at me, look at me, look at me, I'm in recovery. But they still have shit behavior. One would be Harmony's biological mother. I see you, Trevor. I'm going to bring you up in just a second. She is saying now that she's going to own. Here, I'll just let you see this. Put it up. Crystal says, thank you so much. I'm praying for that as well. When this is over, I'm going to own DCYF and give my kids everything they deserve.
The hell she is.
If she wins, supposedly Crystal is going to sue Department of Children, Youth and Families, whatever that initials are for. If she wins a dime, it needs to be put in a trust for Jameson.
She don't deserve anything.
She also says she wants to open her own DCYF office. You have to you have to have a degree in social work.
Oh my gosh, she's laughable.
These aren't Sonic franchises. These are run by the government. What the hell is she thinking? Part of recovery is cleaning up the wreckage of your past. Crystal, Stepmeth is making a plea deal in cooperation to tell them what Teardrop did to Harmony. In one way or another, you may not be directly responsible, but you are part of this.
Absolutely.
Clean up the wreckage of your past.
Absolutely.
Sick ass people. Jameson, if she gets a dime, it needs to go to Jameson. Now, I have not heard that any lawsuit has even been filed. And I will say this right now for Crystal, the discovery phase of this lawsuit, if it ever gets going, is not going to be kind to her. Before anybody says, sure, pay her money, they are going to be very meticulous as to what she could have done to prevent all of this.
Exactly. But in this upside down world, I don't put anything past it. The insurance company may just, throw some money at her to shut her up. And that will make me livid.
Well, they have the governor's report, and the governor's report showed that she lied. So any attorney that picks it up, they need to know that the governor has his own report showing that she didn't even return calls back to social workers that were trying to get a hold of her. I hope that comes out in discovery. I have a feeling that the governor's report's going to be a big part of her lawsuit if it ever goes down the pike. Let's see what Trevor's up to. Hello, Trevor. What's going on, my friend?
Hello, hello.
What are
Good
you?
morning, sir.
Nice.
Morning.
You there?
Yeah.
Can
What
you
do
hear
you?
me?
Yeah.
Okay. Man, I don't even know what to think sometimes with this, but with this case, it's like, tell me how we've got a little girl who will never see any more of her life again, and we're even discussing the fact that somebody who witnessed it and had a chance to say something is now going to get some kind of blanketed sentence to get through this.
I know. I don't get it. That's what I said. We live in an upside down world right now, and I don't get it.
Well, just remember that they basically wrote off the charges for the welfare fraud, and she did serve 4 or 5 months for that. And honestly, in most places for a welfare charge, they wouldn't serve anywhere near that. True. It's true. So this is really just for perjury. This isn't it's in relation to Harmony, but this isn't a charge. If it was a plea bargain, like if they had charged her for failure to report a death or basically witnessing this murder and not doing anything about it.
She sure made sure her kids were safe.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's a sin to hate somebody as much as I hate her.
Mm-hmm. They are nasty, nasty ass people, that's for sure. And really, Teardrop, I know people say, well, it's because, he, had a hard life and he got it.
Cry me a river.
There are so many people struggling with addiction and they wouldn't hurt a flea.
Exactly. That's nothing but a stupid ass excuse.
It has nothing to do with it. They shouldn't even, I wouldn't even brought it up in court. It's muddy in the water.
Exactly.
Sluggy said Crystal didn't call. In fact, she didn't return the phone calls either. The governor's report, I need to do just a whole show going through it because you can see where the disconnect is. I'm not making any excuses, but you can see where it's at. And what really got me was that Crystal wants to be the hero, and she's not. She's
not.
Mm-mm. And she took to social media and she was getting all kinds of accolades from people. There was a few weeks there, well, longer, that if something was said about Crystal in any sort of shade, oh, hell, they'd throw you out of their groups. How dare you? She's a victim too. And I'm like, not in my book. Not in my book. Then the governor's report came out and they're like, but they were trying to get a hold of her. She didn't return the calls.
She did nothing but make excuses. She had family up there, right?
I think so. Does Crystal has family in Manchester, right? I know somebody in here knows.
She couldn't say somebody drive by and see if they're okay? Send a policeman?
Do it your
For a
damn
welfare?
self. Do it your damn self.
Yeah.
She meets another guy, has another baby, unlucky in love again, because that's how it always goes, right? I think she went off to Florida for a while, living her best life. Comes back up, and if it wasn't for Jameson crying for his sister, like Mama Kay said, and I think the second show we did for Harmony, she said Jameson saved her. Jameson was the one. He wants his sister, wants his sister. His adoptive fathers started reaching out to find little Harmony, want to send her presents, get the kids together to play. Normal things, normal things that good people do. And they're running into red lights everywhere. They're running into dead ends. Where's Harmony? Where's Harmony? Where's Harmony? Where's Harmony? So they get a hold of Crystal, even though they know that she's not with Crystal. Maybe Crystal can help. Crystal's like, I haven't heard. I haven't heard anything.
Not since Easter.
Not since Easter of 2019.
Yeah, she did everything she could.
That's what I'm tired of seeing is these people that are knowing what's going on, and then once these things happen, want to suddenly play the hero afterwards. Where were you when this was going on? When the child was still around?
Mm-hmm.
It's not even just this case. It happens so often. It's like when we talk a lot about Summer's case, the same thing. All these family friends and these church members suddenly want to step up and be heroes for the family. Where were you when Summer was still around? Where were these people when Harmony was still around to actually protect them and keep them alive then? Instead of wait till after the fact and then suddenly want to step up and be the hero for them when they're gone.
Exactly.
Well, for one, they don't understand people that follow crime. They don't. And that we've been there, done that. We've seen it. We've seen all of these stories. And we know that there's a Jody Sue in every case. There's a Jody Sue in every case. In this case, Crystal is Jody Sue. Crystal is Jody Sue. I know everything. I saw everything. I've been trying this. I've been trying that. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. It's one thing if you tried and it fell apart. It failed. That happens. That does happen. It's not a perfect system. It's not a perfect system. But the way that she was loving her followers and still does, the way that the media, certain people in the media went along with this,
just took her word for it.
Yeah. After the governor's report came out, I wouldn't give her a second of airtime. I mean, not a second. No way. No way.
I agree.
Sluggy Sleuth, I put the link up again, girlfriend.
Grab it.
So no, she's no hero. And if she does, now that Adam has been charged with murder, I would think this would be a good time to go ahead and file your lawsuit against the Child Protective Services in that state. I just think she's going to have a very difficult time in the discovery phase because of the governor's report that shows they tried to get a hold of her and she didn't even have time to return the call. What you got, Sluggy Sleuth?
Hey, guys.
So glad you finally got to come up.
I know. So sorry if you hear my kids in the background, but I couldn't resist.
That's okay. What you thinking?
Okay. So I'm really glad that Adam is being charged with Harmony's death. I do think that I kind of think it's crap that they didn't include Harmony's location in the plea deal.
Me too.
I just, from what they had found at the Union Street address, I feel like that in itself would be enough to charge him.
Yeah.
So why give her the opportunity?
Unless, of course, she really doesn't know what he's done with her since they moved out of that apartment.
Yeah, I mean, I could buy that, but I just don't.
I don't
You
either.
know, I really think that she knows. And, you know, this was a 3 long year lie.
Mm-hmm.
She hid that a tiny baby was deceased and just walked around and knew about it. She, you know, I think she knows.
And lived with her. I just don't get it.
She was, so Harmony, as we know, was bounced around from foster home to foster home, and never really had a permanent, you know, mom, I will say. But all the other kids called Kayla mom, and you know, Harmony was looking at this lady as her mother for the time being. And it was her job to protect her, but she failed to, and she protected her own children.
I know, I just can't get past that. I can't.
No, and I mean, I'm sorry, but she says that, you know, I don't know what happened between her and Adam, but I just don't think that he could have said something, you know, to make her not say something. I don't think there's anything, you know. They were separate. They had restraining orders. She met up with him after a restraining order. She wasn't that scared of him.
No, she wasn't.
She even told the father-in-law that you know, she's his ride or die. She still loves him. Now, some people will argue and say, well, I think she's just playing along. Well, I don't think so, because the prosecutors certainly didn't think there was no script from them, because they said, no, we don't want her let out of jail because look, while she was in here, she went against what she was asked. We told her specifically, do not have any contact with Teardrop, whether it be via third party or directly. And she uses his dad to get a message to him. So that wasn't scripted. That was her on her own. But one of the charges is Adam intimidating her not to talk, intimidating a witness or whatever you call it.
I don't believe that.
So I have watched that, and I just have a question. I didn't know if you guys caught where it said that she would have time served. Like time served would be taken off of this 1.5 years. Did you guys get that?
I caught it.
But is time served, is that are they dropping the welfare charge and calling it time served, or is it because she hasn't really served anything on the perjury yet? She's just been sifting through this welfare thing.
See, I thought that at first, but then I read somewhere that it was a number, and I was like, why would they use a number? If they, you know what I mean? It's like they took that off her sentence.
So that's why we have the 1.5 years.
Oh, okay. I was wondering that because it didn't make sense.
I'm going to play a clip real quick because some people aren't up to speed with what happened with Adam. Teardrop, he was charged with murder, and he has 4 charges on him. Police say that Harmony died. That's a nice way of putting it, in 2019. So this will get us up to speed on Teardrop. Hang on.
Montgomery's attorney has waived tomorrow's court appearance, and we've also learned more new and disturbing details about how Harmony was murdered. A huge, albeit heartbreaking, step toward justice for Harmony Montgomery. New Hampshire authorities alleging the girl's father, Adam Montgomery, killed Harmony with his own hands.
By repeatedly striking Harmony in the head with a closed fist. in Manchester on or about December 7th, 2019.
It would be 2 years later before Harmony's disappearance would even be reported by her biological mother, Crystal Sorey. Sorey lost custody of Harmony due to her substance abuse struggles and says Adam Montgomery cut off all contact between her and her daughter after he gained custody despite a violent criminal record. Tonight, Sorey asked for privacy, telling us she's still processing everything that happened today. Montgomery, already behind bars on separate charges, is now charged with second-degree murder and abuse of the corpse in an attempt to interfere with the investigation. This summer, investigators searched a Manchester apartment where Montgomery previously lived with Harmony. Among the items removed, a refrigerator labeled with biohazard stickers. But Harmony's body has never been found. And tonight, authorities are again asking the public to help them keep this search alive and to do something nice for a child in Harmony's memory.
I know of no other way. I know of no other way to respect and honor this innocent and defenseless child.
This has been an emotional case for all involved. By the way, Adam Montgomery is also charged with witness tampering. He's accused of trying to get his estranged wife, Kayla, this would be Harmony's stepmom, to lie to investigators. We're live in Manchester, New Hampshire. I'm Mary Saladna, WCDB.
All right, so I'm glad that Sluggy Sleuth brought this up. As much as Crystal wants to play the hero, and she, dangled that Easter basket on a FaceTime and said, next time I see you, you're going to get this. You're going to get your Easter basket. That's not a mama. Harmony had no idea who her mom was. She looked at Kayla as her mother. Talk about just ultimate deception. Close fist to that beautiful little child's face while Kayla does nothing. And she looked at Kayla. I'm so glad you brought that up, Sluggy. She looked at stepmeth as her mama. She has no recollection of who Crystal is. So, Crystal, when you are going around and you are playing hero and people are saying you're so strong and you're a victim too, you know the truth. You know you failed her, and you know that she had no recollection of you as her mother. She had none. She wasn't asking for you. She was never, where's my mama? She looked at stepmeth as her mother.
And that's the sad truth.
Yeah.
It just breaks my heart. It really does.
When he FaceTimed with that POS, and he's a POS too, when he FaceTimed with her, he probably had to tell Harmony who she is. This is your mom. Yeah, she got you an Easter basket, and then back to stepmeth. I don't know how to even put that paragraph together right now.
In the back of my mind at the beginning of this, I really wanted to think that Kayla loved her, and that this was like a domestic violence, situation. But the more I look at it, it's not. It's not. It's just awful.
Where was Kayla when she was scrubbing the toilet with her toothbrush?
Right. She was there. She knew everything.
There. She saw everything. Fucking bitch. Oh.
Yeah, she knew all that was going on.
And did nothing.
I mean, if she happened to be, let's say she was at Dunkin' Donuts the day that these things were going on, we know she knows about the big day, which is the day that Harmony was murdered, because she failed to do nothing about it. For some reason, I think that after he goes through his trial, and she'll still be in jail because she has to sit there for a year and a half, then they'll hit her with charges for failing to report, whatever. I'm just throwing some stuff out there. I don't know what it would be.
I sure hope so.
I do know that Manchester PD, they won't stop. I know they won't. They've done this so, carefully, and they've come out with everything graciously, and it's, they've done a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that they will stop. I think that they will, and I hope that they do.
Well, and also, we keep going back to, but where is Harmony? It's not like they haven't asked her. So right now, this is what we can get, is kind of how I'm taking it.
Not nearly enough.
So we have murder charges on him, and that, to me, that's her bargaining chip. But hopefully in the meantime, through all their investigation, evidence, everything they're putting together, they'll figure out themselves where he put Harmony.
Right.
Then she's got no cards to play, because no one cares about her anyway. It's all about Harmony.
I hope they extend the charges. I mean, we know that Kayla's mother knew. We knew that the uncle knew. Everybody around her knew.
I don't know that Kayla's mother knew that Harmony was dead, and I don't think that Teardrop's uncle knew, because this dude, I don't care if it was for a $10 bill, he would have given Teardrop up in a second.
See, I don't think they knew of her death, but I do think that they knew of the abuse.
Oh, yeah, they had to have.
I agree.
And if they didn't, they certainly put those weird things together when they found out she was missing for over 2 years.
Can you imagine, like, nobody called for like a birthday or a Christmas or
No, I can't.
Harmony's glasses? I mean, she was legally blind, and she needed those updated. Nobody knew.
It's heartbreaking.
The grandparents, I mean, it's bad enough, Teardrop and stepmother. The grandparents are really what set my sails a-sailing, if you know what I mean. So you're telling me from April of 2019 to after Christmas of 2021, it didn't dawn on you that you haven't even as much as sent an Amazon package or a card to little Harmony, and you find nothing odd about that? Hey, if Teardrop is alienating people, that's one thing, and it's all too common, and it happens in families. But the fact that you haven't even seen a picture, that there's been no communication about Harmony. And, we know how grandparents spoil, right?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
It's just disgusting. Just disgusting. I cannot stand them.
And, I was thinking a couple nights ago that they say that DHS, when they moved states over, that they just lost contact. But what about, I feel like there's like a plan afterwards. You know what I'm saying? Like a follow-up plan.
She did.
And Erin's been on here several times. She's a social worker in New Hampshire. And it's a lot of the earlier shows about Harmony. And she said there was no interstate compact. So when he moved to New Hampshire, nobody in New Hampshire, I'm probably saying this wrong, they were not alerted that he was there with her, so they wouldn't know to follow up.
Oh,
so
okay.
that's part of what they're trying to get done, which might take 10 years. We know how the government works. The government's very, very, very slow for a reason. And this interstate compact, I know that they are working on it. I don't know if it's a law yet.
And it's something needs to happen in the Northeast, because the states are so little. You can get from Maine to New York in such a small period of time. They're so close.
Right. So, I mean, it'd be nice if it was just nationwide, but we know that's not going to happen. We just know that would take, that'd take 100 years for them to work that out. I swear to God, it would. But no, you're right. I mean, because like I said, here's the thing. like I said, the states are so small, you can get from one to the other as if you're just going across town for some of them. So when we go back to Crystal, and when Crystal, some people hear, well, she was living in another state. From Lowell, Massachusetts up to Manchester, it's not like a week's long drive. She could have gone
No.
up herself and found her daughter.
It's over the border. It's literally like so close. This is like over the river. Like, she could have gone and sat outside of the house. She could have gone outside of grandma's house. This wasn't a big secret where her daughter was. She knew where she was.
Yeah, and it's not like she couldn't get a hold of him for a week. Well, for one, she wasn't trying, okay? Let's just let that cat out of the bag. She was not trying. She was not trying. So, but if she was trying, she could have drove up there and found her herself. It was no
Right.
secret where they were living. It was no secret where they were living.
And it's no secret of where they went either. You know, these people intermingle.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they do. Mm-hmm.
Like what Kayla does, you hear about it. It's not, it's Manchester is like the ghetto of New Hampshire. I'll put it that way.
But it's not like Harmony wasn't in the system. They were getting food stamps for her. Shouldn't that have been flagged?
Well, the insurance thing. That's what I thought about, is that she would have state insurance, which would mean if you didn't reach the year visit with your kids, they would contact the insurance, they would send out a letter. So that's the only thing I could think of. But if they didn't cross states over states, you know, they wouldn't know she was here.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I can think about with what we're talking about, the doctors, I don't think they send out a letter if you don't take a child for like their once a year, you know, to see the doctor. But for her eye, that I would think that would have been noted.
Yeah.
And if you remember during COVID, dentists and optometrists were not considered essential employees. It's a true story. I have a friend who's an optometrist in New York. She had to shut down her practice until they let her open it back up. I never understood that. I think podiatrists too. I mean, come on. A doctor is a doctor is a doctor. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally forgot about COVID because they weren't even doing home visits and they weren't doing, yeah. It's just, it fathoms me that she just went unnoticed for like almost 3 years.
Uh-huh.
Like if my neighbor's kid, if I didn't see them for a long time, you'd think you'd question, but I can't say that because there were so many reports to this home. There were so many reports and so many of them led, okay, hold on. So New Hampshire DHS did know about her because four of the calls were pushed to DHS.
See, and I don't like how that went down at all, because by the time they got to her, there was nothing going on.
He was healed.
Uh-huh.
But the thing that gets me though is that, I mean, you've seen pictures of inside the house. I mean, the fire hazards of the generator, the fridge, in my opinion, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? You've seen them.
Mm-hmm.
You think that would, you know, flag something, flag a follow-up, something.
Well, how did Aaron word that, Brooks? Minimal care?
Yeah, when Erin was on, we discussed that and she agreed 100%. And she was talking about from a social worker standpoint and how there's all these things that they want to do, but the law, she can't speak for it's basically, that's one thing that is uniform in every state. It's called the minimum standard of care. So even though they're hooked up to a generator, the lights come on. Even though they might be 6 months behind on their water bill, I'm just throwing it out there.
And I really appreciate this because, you know, I'll put it out there. At first, I was just angry. I was angry about the whole situation. I was pissed off, and I still am. And a lot of my anger went towards the system. But the more you dissect this and the more they couldn't do anything. Their hands were tied. And I'll say that.
Unfortunately, that's the truth of the situation.
And so then they close down the case. They move. We had the whole situation where they were living in the car, but by that time she was no longer with us. And the children that Teardrop and Stepmeth have together were with her mother. So they're not going to worry about two adults living in the car. They're concerned about kids. Well, the kids are okay, which we know Harmony wasn't. It's a sick situation.
I can't. I've been the transitional living home there was a picture floating around of Harmony there. Where does that fit in? Do you recall? There was.
I don't, because I've been trying to figure that out myself. When was she there?
So I believe they went from the Guilford Street home to the mother's, and then they lived in the car for a short period of time, and then they went to transitional living.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got put into that apartment by transitional living, because I somewhere deep in my files I have where she signed the day of, and Harmony's name was not on there. She had to sign an agreement for transitional living.
Okay, so that would be when she stopped claiming benefits on her with New Hampshire.
Yes.
That makes sense, because I wonder what dawned on her made her quit claiming Harmony. That would be it.
So another thing that I really want to clarify is that she literally had to make changes. This was not like, oh, she just kept claiming her and kept claiming her. No. She made changes to that document saying that they only have her on the weekends.
God.
She made those changes. It's not like, oh, she just forgot about it. No. She called, she made those changes, and she went on with her life.
Knowing that she witnessed a murder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, she didn't say, this is what I think happened. She said, this is what happened. And he's hung up for murder. And they, like I said, they had to have put it together somehow, because they can't just take her word on it. There's no way. There's no way.
Well, and then again, I mean, she knew about it, and then she claimed that she saw her on the weekends. Like, she knew that she didn't see her on the weekends, so man.
And then another question, why was Crystal, because we still have not figured out, did she lose parental rights, or was she just not interested? Because she never paid child support on Harmony. Now, Jameson was adopted. He wouldn't pay child support. We get that. But she never paid child support on Harmony. Why would that be? Did she lose parental rights? Did she sign them all over?
From the documents that I've read, what happened, and this is really weird to me, and I've never been able to figure it out, but whenever Crystal regained Harmony living with her, she would live with Crystal full time, but the custody of Harmony would still be with the state. Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know, because the state would make sure that she got that Crystal, brought her to the doctors, and that she did this with her. It's in the 100-page report, and it's weird.
How did I miss that? Well, I damn sure Crystal lied, though.
Yeah, that's what I gathered from it, and I don't. And then I don't know if she ended up giving up the rights. I know that she, Harmony was back with foster care, so she obviously, I personally, I thought that she messed up and that it was a done thing, and then she just stopped trying, and then Adam picked up trying eventually.
Oh, and that was like 40 hours of reunification to get Harmony. 40 hours is something that Teardrop has never heard before in his life. 40 hours, most of us, we hear 40 hours, we think an honest week's work. 40 hours, this is a term that's very foreign to him.
Exactly.
I always get hung up on why did he want her?
Money.
Mm-hmm. That's the best I can figure.
Have you ever, I've never read this, but I am curious, who received the stimulus payments for Harmony and
That's a good
credits.
question. I've been asking that myself. No word.
Because that would be a federal charge if they were cashing those checks. Susan's been on that one for almost a year. She's been so pissed about that stimulus payment.
Well, and the monthly payments too. Was that around the time?
I don't know when the tax credit kicked in, but I think that would be after, because the welfare stopped June of 2021. So that didn't kick in till after. But they don't work anyway. They're not going to get any tax credit.
Well, Kayla did work.
I don't know that she was working after June of 2021 where she could get that tax credit.
Mm. I'm surprised the uncle didn't file for it.
Every one of them, every dadgum one of them make me so mad.
I know. Usually, I usually don't do panels, but I just couldn't. I couldn't bite my tongue because I've been waiting for you to discuss this.
Oh, this gets me fired up, man.
It's a mess.
It is. So we're going to continue following the case. I know, some people, they fell off, they were like, oh, the cops aren't going to do anything and all this stuff. Well, they are. They've been working the whole time. They just haven't been keeping us up to date on what they're doing. Kind of hard to do your job when you're constantly telling people what you're doing. You know what I mean? So I have faith that they are going to get through this trial with Teardrop. And I think that once the gavel goes down and they say, you're not fit for society, Teardrop, you don't get to be around other people. You're going to be sitting in a jail cell the rest of your life. I hope it's televised because I want to see his face when stepmeth is up there testifying against him.
Well, I figured they'll point the fingers at each other.
That for sure is going to go down. So I really, really hope they have all their physical evidence all laid out. And in the meantime, it'd be great if they found Harmony. I understand what they're going to actually be finding, but it's crazy what they can do.
She needs to be laid to rest.
Yes.
Poor little baby. Breaks my heart.
She never had a break.
No, she never did.
Never. Born to drug-addicted parents who didn't clean it up for the sake of their child. They cleaned it up because of other, what's the word I'm looking for? Consequences. It wasn't for their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to start shutting this down. It's a crazy week around here. I'm telling you, I love the holidays, but the holidays don't love me because there's just not enough time.
That's the true story.
Thank you. Thanks, Brooks, for doing this and having me up. I appreciate it.
Hey, it was awesome that you finally got to come up. When I saw you say drop the link, I'm like, is today the day we get to talk to Sluggy?
I know. Yeah, have a good week, guys.
All right. Hey, make sure you come back up on panel. It doesn't just have to be this case.
I know, I will. Thank you.
All right. That was awesome having you up. And as always, having our friend Susan up because you have been hot and heavy following, researching every minute of this case.
It just makes me so sad for that baby.
Mm-hmm.
Her little face. How could you not love that?
How could you not love that little face and just...
I don't want to think about it. I don't.
I know.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump down and you guys all have a good day and I'll see you over in Discord.
See you in Discord, my friend.
Bye.
Jakey said it should be law that they are not allowed out of jail till they say where Harmony is. Yep. I really think stepmeth knows. If she knows, which she does, what he did to little Harmony, then I would think somewhere in their conversation when he returned with no Harmony, she would have asked, hey, by the way, where'd you put her? Of course she knows. It's her final bargaining chip. Just have to have faith that the investigators will put it together and find her on their own, or that they slap some even bigger charges on her, and then here we go again, possibly another plea deal. I don't know. I don't even want to think about that right now. Don't even want to think about that one right now. It's a lot, guys. It's a lot. So if I miss you later today in Discord, I have some more shows lined out to do this week. Members, I think I'm going to do our Thanksgiving Members Live Wednesday morning. I'll put it up this afternoon. I promise I will do that. We have another show for the murder victims in Idaho. I got to go check and see what's going on with court today for Sarah Wondra in the Michael Vaughn case. I do have a show put together for little Quentin. So we have some stuff going on this week, even though it's Thanksgiving week. We definitely do. Definitely had to talk about Harmony this morning because it's just eating my last raw nerve. Just drives me insane. Drives me insane. Undead, if you want a Discord link, you will just send me an email at CLL72020. But hey, I know it's a super busy week. So if I miss you in any of the shows this week, or God forbid if I miss you in Discord, that's like hitting this broadside of a barn when we're in there together, then I hope you have a fabulous, wonderful Thanksgiving. Be thankful, be grateful, just like I am for all of you. I'll see you guys later. Thank you very much. Justice for Harmony.